Hi, I'm Anita. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on a bracelet called Wired Up. This is a design by Yvonne Rivero from her book called The Beaded Bracelet 2. This book is no longer in print, but I am doing tutorials on different items in that paperback that I have, so I'm sharing all of that with you. The materials you're going to need today are a 26 gauge wire and 18 gauge wire. You're also going to be using 8mm fire polish beads. And for tools, I'm using a nylon pair of pliers, a pair of wire cutters, round nose pliers, a pair of crimping tools, and these are bail making pliers as well. I do have a list of all of these materials and counts and measurements in the description box, so if you click more at the bottom of this video, it'll give you all the details and where you can find these supplies. So go ahead and gather your materials and let's get started. So to start, you're going to take your 18 gauge wire, and this can be purchased at any of your hobby stores, or you can find it online at any of the different retailers like Michael's or maybe Amazon, Fire Mountain Gems. And this is an 18 gauge that I'm using today, and it's a bluish color. And what I did was cut a 10-inch piece, so that's for a wrist measurement of 6.5 to 7 inches by the time you get to the finished bracelet, because the ends are going to have a little embellishment, a little loop at the end, so that's going to take up some of the length. So what I like to do is, sometimes you'll have kinks in your wire or bends like this, and this nylon pliers will help smooth that out. So I just run this over the wire like that, and you notice how smooth that makes it. And I'm going to do the other side, and just I'm going to keep this in a rounded shape somewhat for my bracelet shape. And once you do that, we'll be ready to go on to the next step. So now that I have the kinks out of that, I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to embellish the ends. So what I want to do is I want to put the wire on the small part of the round nose and just get a good grip where you can grip it without it being sticking out too far. And I'm going to bend this up and around and make a small loop like that. So now that I have done that, I'm going to make a loop reversing the direction of this so that it coils to the back. So once I have that loop done, I'm going to take my bail making pliers and I'm going to loop this around by placing it on my wire, and I'm going to turn it in this direction like this so that my wire is going to meet that small loop like that. So that's what you should have on one end, and we're going to repeat that on this side as well. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers, I'm going to make a little coil at the end by rotating. Just make a small loop. You want it so that this wire is not sticking out or poking like that. And now I'm going to take my bail making pliers like that, place that about there, and I'm going to bend like that and bring my loop together like that. So this is what you should have on both ends, and I'm going to bend this so that this is the side of my bracelet. This will be the front, or where you can also use this to fasten it if you want, but really the design of this is so that it molds to your wrist. So this is a 10-inch piece of wire, and when you're cutting your wire, you want to wrap it around your wrist and allow for the loops. So like I said, this is a 10-inch piece of wire, and I'm making a 6.5 to 7 inch bracelet. So there we go. So we're going to go on to the next step. So for our next step, you're going to take your 26 gauge wire. You're going to cut a piece about 1 yard in length. You're going to need a total of 3 yards, so you'll be adding wire. And I suggest that you try not to go any longer than that because it's going to be difficult and you'll have wire kinks if you try to cut your wire too long. So to start, we're going to place our 26 gauge wire on top of this loop that we started, like that, so that it's right below where that little loop is. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to wrap it, and I'm going to open this up to make it a little easier for now. You can remold that. And I'm going to wrap this 3 times around my base. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So this is what it looks like. Just below there, like that. Now, if as you're working on this, if this tends to slide up in here and go past, you can push this down a little. So just try to keep it just below the loop like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start putting on our fire polish beads. So these are 8mm. The original design actually is with 6mm, but I'm going to try and do these with a bigger bead and see how they look, and then I'll show you the difference between the 8mm and 6mm in relationship to size at the end of this video. So I'm going to put on an 8mm bead like that, and you just let it slide down your wire. And you want to hold that bead so that it's below the base wire like this. And I'm going to bring my working wire over here. We're going to wrap around the base wire 3 times. So I'm going to go, there's 1, 2, and 3. So I want my wire facing up because I'm going to be placing another 8mm bead on this side above the wire. So we're going to pick up another 8mm bead. Let it slide on your wire. And you want to hold that just above the base, like that. Just pinch it with your fingers. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to wrap the wires on top, and we're going to wrap this way. So we're going to do that 3 times. Get this untangled here. So I'm going to come down. That's 1, 2, and 3. So this is what you have so far. Now this piece here is going to get tucked in. I'm just going to leave that out for now, and we'll come back to that later. So for now we're going to pick up another 8mm fire polish. I'll do a couple of more with you. Just pick that up with your wire, and then you're going to just let that slide down, and we're going to hold that in place just like that because you're doing alternates here. We're going to do the same thing, wrap 3 times. So here's my wire coming over. There's 1, 2, and 3. And you want the wire to go up because we're placing the next 8mm here on top. So we'll do 1 more with you, and then I'll send you on your way. Going to pick this one up. Let that slide down. And just position it on top of your base wire like that. Just hold that with your fingers. And we're going on top like this and down. We're going to wrap 3 times. So there's 1, 2, 3. So now my wire is down here to position the next fire polish. And you're going to do that same process all the way to the end. So go ahead and continue adding each one, and I'll meet you when we get to the last one for the next step. Okay, I'm coming down to my last fire polish on the end, and I'm placing that just below the base like that. I'm wrapping 4 times. That's 1, 2, and I'm wrapping 3 times, correction. So there's my 3rd wrap, and my wire is coming up. So for this bracelet, I'm using approximately 24 of the 8mm fire polish. Now, you can make this with 6mm, which is what the original design calls for, but I thought I'd experiment today. If you're using 6mm, you're probably going to need about 34 to 36 beads. So from here, we're going to add fire polishes on the opposite sides like we did on our first row. But we're going to be completing the spaces here so that we have one fire polish directly across from the other. So I'm going to now pick up another fire polish bead, bring that down. I'm going to turn this like this. So here's my bead at the bottom. I'm going to just put that in place like that, pinch that with my fingers, and I'm going to be wrapping around like this over my base, and I'm only going to wrap 2 times. So we're going to go 1 and 2. And I want my wire coming up because I need to place my next bead just above this one here. So I'm going to pick up another fire polish, bring that down, just position that and hold that in place. And now our wire is here. We're coming down across, and we're going to go around twice. So there's 1 and 2. Pick up the next one like that, bring that down. You're going to hold that in place, and we're going this way. We're going to wrap once and twice, and I want my wire coming up because I have to place my next bead on top. Pick that one up, bring that down, and then I'm going to come across down, go around twice, so that's 1 and 2. So you're going to continue picking alternate beads and wrapping twice, and when you run out of wire, I'm going to continue until I get near the end. If I run out of wire, I'll show you how to add wire. It's very simple, and let's go ahead and continue adding the rest of our beads, and then I'll go on to the next step. Okay, I've got 2 more fire polishes left. Let's go ahead and do that so we can go on to our next step. Bring that down, hold that in place, and I'm going overhand 2 loops. There's 1, 2. And now here's my last bead. Let that come down, hold that in place, and we're going to wrap twice. There's 1 and 2. So here's what we have so far. with our beads in position. So now we're going to go on to the next step. I have a little bit of wire left, so I'm going to keep going and then I'll show you how to add wire. I'm going to turn this around so that my wire's on top. And what we're going to do from here is we're going to take our wire and we're going to come across our bead like this. See where that comes? Right in between and up and down like that. So you're between the beads now. So now I'm going to do that again. I'm taking my wire and I'm going across in between the beads and then down in between the beads and up. So that's placing your wire across. It's like the first half of an X. So now I'm going to bring this across in between and down. Oops, let's try that again. Placing that here, and now I'm coming down, and then again across between the beads and down, across in between the beads and down, like that. Keep going. Across in between the beads and down. And I could do a couple of more. And I've got about 1.5 inches of wire left. I'm going to do one more like that. And one more. And now this piece of wire that's left, I'm just going to wrap that around with my finger, and I can use my crimp tool here to pull that. I'm just going to wrap that around until I can conceal that edge. So I'm going to squeeze that down and make that wire tip disappear into the work like that. So just squish that in. Make sure there's no rough spot. And this is where we left off. So we're going to cut another 1 yard length of your 26 gauge wire. And we're going to pick up where we left off. So from here, the last place we crossed was right here. So what I'm going to do is position my new piece to where I can pick up where I left off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through this bead right here, like that. This is where the last crossing was. I'm just pushing this wire through to anchor this, and I'm going to pull that a little bit, like that. And I'm going to wrap this end of the new wire around this way, like this, like we did with our tail. And I'm going to continue wrapping this until I don't have any left, and use my tool to push that wire up and into the work so it's not sticking up. Now you can clip it, but I want to leave enough anchored so that it's not going to come out. Okay, so I've got that all squished into place, and this is where my wire is coming out of this bead. So I'm just going to wrap around the center like this down, and I'm going to pick up where I left off. So I'm going to bring this wire over and across in between, under, and then over, across, and in between. So that completes the first half of that X. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So my cross was going this way. Now I'm going to come this way, like this, down. So here's my wire. I'm going to come down in between these beads, underneath and up. So you notice that that puts an X right there. So I'm going to do that again. I'm coming across right there in between the beads, down and up in between the beads. So there's that next one. See the X? Now I'm going to do that again. Come down and across, then underneath and up, down and across, and then up like that, down and across, and up. So I'll do one more, down and across, and up. So keep doing that till you get all the way across the other end, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, I'm at my last one, and I'm coming up and I'm going down and across this last bead and then up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to repeat doing the X, going back this way 2 more times. So we're doing the first half of the X this way and then coming back. So you'll have it double X, double wires with the X going all the way across. And you'll know if you missed one, you'll see if there's not 2 wires that you need to go over that direction. So from here, my wire's coming underneath. Now I'm going to cross like this. I'm going up and over and down like that. Now I'm going up and over and down. Up and over and down. Up and over and down. Like that. I'll go ahead and do this row with you. It can go quick once you get the rhythm down. It doesn't take long to do one of these bracelets. So here I am at the end doing my last one. I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to go back the other way. So I need to come down and across now. So I'm going to come down and across and up. Down and across and up. Down and across and up. So if you can see, you've got 2 wires going in both directions. So I'm going to keep going. Down and across and up and continue like that, and it goes pretty fast. And I'm at the last one and I'm coming down and across and up. So that's that step. So from here we're going to do one final step, and I've got some wire left here, and you're going to have to add wire one more time. So from here I'm going to wrap, and you want to come in between the beads here, and you want to do 4 wraps in between each set. So from here I'm coming up under my base. I'm just going to bring this down and underneath this first bead to get in position. So I'm in between the beads now right here, and I'm going to wrap this 4 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to come down underneath this next bead and wrap 1, 2, 3, 4. Come down under the next bead, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've got a little bit of wire left, so I'm going to bring this over and wrap 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that tail up because I'm going to take care of that in a minute. So I know where I left off, I'm going to grab another piece of wire, 26 gauge, 1 yard to finish this bracelet. Probably don't need that much because we're almost done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to come in through this fire polish here where I left off. This is where I left off. So I'm going to put my wire through this fire polish right here. See if I can get that to focus. So I've got the tail of the new wire coming through that fire polish closest to where I left off. And I'm just going to wrap this around right here. Like that. Till I have no more left, and I'm going to push that end piece into the wire. Like that, and just squeeze that in. So from here, I'm going to wrap this around once. Now I can pick up where I left off, and I'm going to go underneath this next bead like that, and I'm going to wrap, continue 4 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Come underneath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come underneath this bead and do that again. 2, 3, 4. And another one. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Got a few more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's one of the reasons why you want to work with wire that's no more than 1 yard, because it can get unruly on you. So I've got 3 more spots to fill, coming underneath like that, and wrap 4 times. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Underneath, and then wrap 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm at the end, so I'm just going to bring this around underneath this bead, this last bead, and I'm going to wrap around several times right here to finish this. There's no correct count, just to fill it up. Now I'm going to cut this off with my wire cutters. And I'm going to fill this in. Just push that end piece in so it's not sticking out. And I'm going to go back and take this tail and finish wrapping this around and just conceal that end by pushing that in. And just make sure nothing's sticking out. I think I'm going to cut this up here at the top. That'll be easier to push in. There we go. Just take care of that. And just double check and make sure you don't have any pieces sticking out. I've got 1 more tail here. We're going to wrap that. And I'm going to cut that right here. And I'm going to push that last tip in. There we go. We have finished our wired up bracelet. Very pretty, the contrasting black and blue. Now I've got a bit of a gap here. You could probably have added another bead, but that's okay. I just wanted to give you the general idea, and you can clip these like this if you want, but really the main way to wear these is to just wrap it around your wrist like that, and you bend it, and there you have it. It's like a bangle bracelet. So you can make these, longer and have it wrap multiple times around your wrist. That's another option that you can do. Here's one that I made in red. I'll show you that one. Now this one I did a little different. I bent the loop backwards so that I could hook this on like that. That's another way you can wear it. A lot of different options you can do. Now the other way that you can make this also is with 6mm fire polish, and I'll show you a couple that I did with that. Now these are 6mm. I did this in a purple base wire, 18 gauge, and then the 26 gauge wire was in silver with hematite fire polish in 6mm. Really pretty, and you can really see the detail of the wire wrapping here. It really pops. Very pretty. So that's what that looks like. And then here's another one I did in a seafoam. The 26 gauge is a seafoam wire, and then the base was in black, and that really stands out nicely. And these beads are kind of a marbleized peridot with teal color. I can't find these anymore. I had purchased these years ago from a bead shop in California, and they're no longer in business, so I don't even know if you can find these anymore. But this was a very unique, unusual color palette, and I thought, ooh, I'm going to make a bracelet with that. So there you have it. We got wired up today with wire wrapping and lots of beautiful fire polish beads. So I hope that you enjoyed today's tutorial. I will have a link in the description box with the exact counts and measurements for this. Initially, I was going to do the tutorial with 6mm, but I messed up that video. So I had to redo, and I did it with 8mm. So I wanted to give you a comparison. If you like chunkier jewelry, you can adjust. You don't have to go with 6mm. You can do 8s, even try 10s. So I also make my own jewelry, so if you want to check out my website, you'll see these listed along with a bunch of other creations I've done over the years. And if you're not a subscriber, I hope that you do subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. So with that said, I hope you have a wonderful week, and happy beading, everyone. See you next time.